Run from what's comfortable. Forget safety. Live where you fear to live. Destroy your reputation. Be notorious. Jalaluddin Rumi. The before and after. From a distance, it didn't look like anything at all. A discarded brown bag, perhaps? But as she got closer, the generous bulk of the belly began to appear more clearly. The outline of small velvet antlers, the long erect ears, two large black eyes, terrible in their depth, and yet joyous in their shine, mirroring the blue sky. It lay there, still and peaceful. Only when she had a good front view of the murdered animal's face did she see its tongue, red and wet, hanging out of its mouth, the only gory detail of the scene. There is a before and after. Before she clicked the leash on Juno's collar, before she left her apartment for their early morning walk, before she decided they'd walk a bit further than their usual 1 mile. But that was all after. After night fell and obscured visibility. After the deer dared to cross the road. After the reckless driver thought it was safe to take their eyes off the road and answer that text. She jogged back home with Juno, running from a sense of loss. From a distance, she looks like any other woman. She's tall, 6 feet, but that wasn't necessarily something people stopped and gawked at. Knowing that her masculine face would never achieve that level of femininity she aspired to, she overcompensated with large breast implants, the stress on her spine still unbearable after so many years. Despite the hormones and the beard removal, despite the nose and the chin surgery and the constant plucking of her brows, she still sees a man's face when she looks in the mirror. Some days, a forgiving inner voice tells her she passes easily, pulls back her shoulders, puts a bounce in her step. Other days, a shadow tells her to be quiet. The growl in her voice is noticeable, points out her squarish jaw, the too narrow to be feminine eyes, the wider nostrils, the masculine nasion. It pulls her down. It makes her hide her face with large sunglasses, to curtain it with her long hair. Her hair, always long and dyed blonde, the exaggerated hand gestures, nails manicured to perfection, painted shocking pink or glossy red. She can deceive the keenest eyes, but her mind only focuses on the mild masculinities typical with average non-transsexual women. Most of the men she meets, she finds online. She feels under pressure to be honest from the beginning. In her profile photos, she shows off her voluptuous body, but she never attracts what she's looking for, depth. So, did you get everything done down there? They want to know. There was a before and after. She only kept one picture when she was Salman, a 15-year-old Saudi Arabian boy, rail thin, and wearing the Middle Eastern white garb men wear. His thick, soft hair, charcoal black and shoulder length, the longest his father allowed him to keep it before he was forced to cut it short again. Now, she is Selma. She believes she buried Salman. The before is breathlessly painful and full of violence. The beating Salman suffered on the hands of his father and his 2 older brothers the first time he was caught wearing lipstick. When that didn't turn him back into a real man, as his father put it, he handed him to his uncle, a brutal lieutenant in the special forces, who promised Salman's father that by the time he's finished with the boy 3 days later, he'll never want to pretend to be a girl again. At 16, Salman learned all about the torture the police used to force out confessions. When his mother took him to the mullah, His theory was that Salman was possessed by the demon of a promiscuous prostitute. They had to beat her out of him, the mullah explained. The religious man of God kept grabbing at Salman's crotch and yelling, "Do you like this, huh? Do you want this?" He made Salman drink so much holy water that when he began to vomit water, the mullah turned to Salman's mother and said, "Do you see? It's the prostitute demon coming out of him." The abuse continued at home until Salman was disowned and kicked out. He hoped there would be a glimmer of regret in his mother's eyes at least, but there was none. From 17 to 19, he lived on sexual favors performed for pious Muslim married men until he did some research and sought asylum in the United States. The before was the agony of gender dysphoria. The after is the hell of body dysmorphia. On her good days, when the forgiving voice tells her she passes, Selma is grateful she dared to cross.